Hello and welcome to episode 89 of my Wurm Unlimited tutorial series. This episode is going to be on becoming a priest of our chosen God. In my case, foe. So here we are at last, on the threshold to becoming a priest. My character is going to be a priest of foe, because I want to enchant my weapon with a life tap enchant. What the enchant does is it takes health from enemies I fight and gives it to me as a healing, as a healing spell. Now, I've used this enchant before with my Wurm Online character. Let's just say, before I had the weapon with life tap, crocodiles and trolls would wipe the floor with me, because in Wurm Online, as you know, everything is much slower, and to fight a troll or a crocodile solo is a pretty difficult task, and I couldn't do it before I got this weapon. But then a friend called Tridec gave me this weapon one day as a lovely gift. And I went and tested it on a crocodile, thinking that I'd have to run. But lo and behold, it turned the tables. But not only that, after the fight with the crocodile, I was left with still 3/4 health. So I just went and fought a couple of cows and bulls to regen my health back up. Not regen, but re-heal it back up with the life tap. The same went for a troll. The troll was no problem. So as you can see, becoming a priest is a huge benefit. Now, you don't have to make your main character a priest, but you most certainly do want an alt to be a priest, because you can give yourself some wonderful enchants and there are some cool spells. Okay, so let's begin. Now, first of all, notice, let's bring my skills up. I have got my faith to 30. It will not raise any higher as a follower. 30 is the cap on my faith. So at this point you have two choices. Either you can just leave it there and reap the benefits of being a follower, i.e. get this faith bonus, which I've mentioned previously, or if you want to take your faith higher, because after all, faith is for your spell casting, because it's interlinked with your favour. Your favour, remember, is you can see as your mana. The higher your favour, the more spells you can cast. So that all hinges off of your faith. So we want to cast spells and enchants which need faith. In order to progress, we now have to become a priest. However, excuse me, here are some things to think about before you choose to be a priest, and also which god to choose with relation to the restrictions to being a priest. Decide if you want your main to be a priest or an alt. I strongly recommend using an alt, as an alternative character, that is, as I like full access to all the skills, and normally I like to do all of the trade skilling and crafting, so that's why I make an alt my priest, not my main character. I do not want to be restricted on my main character. I had got rusty with my knowledge on priests and the restrictions. Now I remember why I always chose an alt to be a priest. So to make sure that I'm accurate with all of the restrictions, I'm going to now switch to the wonderful Wurmpedia and read to you off of there what it says with regards to restrictions. And this is something that if you are going to be a priest, this is something you have to know without question. Either read from Wurmpedia, the page on priests and under restrictions, or listen to me now. Right, reading away. Restrictions. With great power comes restriction. Priests forbidden by their gods from undertaking a multitude of activities. Although it's possible to go unfaithful and ignore your god, the repercussions are not accepted well. Faith will be removed if the actions are noticed by the gods. So, bring my faith back up. What this is telling us, okay, if we become a priest, we will gain access to spells and enchantments and a whole side of the game of Wurm which we've never seen before, and it's a wonderful side. But if we then do actions, which I'm going to read in a moment, we lose our faith. Now, because I got rusty, I assumed it was when the alignment gets to 0, which if it does, you start to lose faith. And I thought when you did actions, but it's not. When you do an action your god is not happy with, you lose faith. And remember, you can only pray 5 times a day and 30 minutes apart. So it's, whilst you can get your faith back easy enough, you may, if there's a skill you enjoy doing a lot, like blacksmithing, and your chosen god doesn't like that, then that god is not the god for that character that you want to do blacksmithing on. So I believe that's now very clear to you. When you anger your god, they don't always notice you doing actions they don't like. Out of 20 mining actions, the god may notice once or twice at most. So you won't always lose faith. Okay, but remember, you have to go unfaithful if you want to do that. So there we go. Let's carry on. Priests typically cannot do any of the following actions with some exceptions, and I will read to you the exceptions. Improve, continue or destroy bash items, walls or structures, or repair structures. However, they are permitted to create and plan items and structures. So as you can see in just that first one line, improving items is something, improving walls and structures, destroying them, bashing them and building them is something, and repairing them is something very important for your main character to be able to do. So there we are. That's the first one. Dig or cut wood, pack dirt or pave. They're more actions gods don't like, but only certain gods. Mine, prospect or tunnel. Some gods like that, some gods don't. Use alchemy or make healing covers. Again, some gods like that, some gods don't. Cannot steal. Well, that doesn't apply to us because we're not stealing in creative, but if you're in Wurm Online or a public server, be warned. Priests do not gain body or mind skills as at the same rate as normal characters while doing the same actions, so bear that in mind. Okay, now here's a list of the gods, what they like and what they dislike knowing. Of this episode, this probably is the most important part. Foe likes digging, likes you using alchemy, and likes you making healing covers. Foe likes farming, gardening and taming. Foe does not like woodcutting, mining, paving, stealing and destroying structures. That's foe. Libilla does not likes woodcutting, mining, stealing and destroying structures. Libilla does not like digging, alchemy and healing covers, paving and farming, gardening and taming. Magrinon likes mining, farming, gardening and taming. Magrinon does not like digging, woodcutting, alchemy and healing covers, paving and stealing and destroying structures. Vinora likes woodcutting, paving, farming, gardening and taming. Vinora does not like digging, alchemy and healing covers, mining, stealing and destroying structures. Okay, that's the gods I'll cover. The rest apply to Wurm Online. So there we are. There's the 4 different gods and what they like and what they dislike. Now I shall just read this last bit to you from Wurmpedia. Losing faith. Going against the will of a god will anger them, and as a result the priest will lose faith. The amount lost depends entirely on the action taken. If a priest ever drops below 30 faith, they will be stripped of their priesthood and rejoin the ranks of the followers with an added 10-point loss in favour, leaving them at 20. So, if my faith, I did an action and it took me to 29 faith, not only will I stop becoming a priest, it will drop it a further 10, so I'll end up with 19 faith. So be warned about that. That if you're doing actions your god does not like, make sure you are at least 10 or 20, at least on 30 or 50 faith. So if you do lose some faith, you can get it back before it becomes a major problem. So there we have it though. You can see it's important to know about them restrictions, what you can and can't do. Now if you do like I've done, make an alt for each of the gods, there will never be a problem. So there we are. I hope you will learn through my experience. Okay, so let's now carry on. That was the wonderful Wurmpedia. So that's all of that aside, the gods' likes and dislikes. So now I will give you some tips before you go any further. Nature skills affect soul characteristics, which in turn improve spellcasting abilities. Train them up before choosing a god to follow as a priest, as you can then do all the actions without restriction and get your soul characteristics up because you want to improve your spellcasting abilities. Next, support skills such as blacksmithing, carpentry, cloth tailoring, masonry, pottery, stone cutting and wood cutting should all be raised to at least 20 or better still 30, so that you will not be left mostly unable to help yourself or your village in other ways after you become a priest. Personally, I would say get all of them skills to 50, because if we know in Wurm Unlimited it's fast to train your skills, but if you can't stand the skills then maybe 30 is good enough. Next, you should strongly consider raising mind logic to 20.1 and body control to 21 for the ability to command sailing boats and to ride horses. These characteristics are much harder to gain without crafting. So once you become a priest, all of the crafting skills nearly will be restricted, so bear that in mind. Train the skills up before you choose. Next, it is important to raise your strength characteristic to at least 21 before you become a priest, since most priest penalties affect skills that raise strength well, like mining, digging and cutting down trees. They're all good for raising strength. Train them skills up before you choose to become a priest, and that will get your strength up. When you become a priest, you must raise your soul strength depth in order to improve the outcome of your spells. Libilla and Magrenon priests must raise soul strength. Foe and Venora priests must raise soul depth. So remember that. That's to improve the outcome of your spells so they don't fizzle or fail so much. Okay, next, changing faith. So you started a god of Venora and then a friend showed you about some spells that they can cast as a Magrenon, like collapsing, some of the spells they get, and you was most impressed, so you've decided that you want to stop following Venora and instead follow Magrenon. Okay, if a priest ever feels the need to begin worshipping a different god, they may be converted by a follower of the respective faith. So if they want to join Magrenon, they only need to find a follower of Magrenon. Doing so will reduce the faith of the converted to 20% of the preaching skill of the converter. So the person that converts you, you will lose 20% of your faith when they do that. So it's not as bad as starting over. You would have only lost 20%. So meaning they will no longer be a priest if your faith was close. Well, so you won't be a priest of that chosen God anymore. You won't be a priest of any God, not until you get your faith to 30. Okay. Now, I'm standing before the altar for 2 reasons. One is the first reason. You can also change faith using the altar of free. But I will tell you now, never ever use the altar of free to convert to a different faith. If you do, your faith will drop to 1. Yep, you heard me right. All your faith will be wiped out. It will be dropped to 1. You can use an altar of the free to I need to get closer, to convert, but do not do it, because if you do, you will lose all your faith. It'll drop to 1. The second reason that I'm here by this altar of free is because, as you can see, this is now how I can turn into being a priest. So right, okay, so what else did I want to mention? Well, anyway, okay, with all that said and done, time for me to become a priest of foe. Now, I'm a follower already of foe, so that's why it doesn't say the different gods. It just says become a priest, because obviously it means priest of foe in my case. If you're a Venora follower, it will make you a priest of Venora, providing your faith is at 30. So let's left click. Okay, so here we go. It says, do you wish to become a priest? You may choose to become a priest of foe, so it will tell you your chosen God. If you answer yes, you will receive special powers from your deity, such as the ability to cast spells. Yay. You will, however, be very limited in what you can do. You will, for instance, not be able to do such things as create, repair or improve items or use alchemy. If your faith ever fails you, you will lose your priesthood. Well, I explained that to you earlier. So, let's say yes. Okay, so now it says down here, congratulations, I've become a priest of foe. Up here we will see no changes. I'm just checking the religion. No changes to pay note of. Just simply that we are now a priest and we now have access to spells. I did wonder though whether there was anything new that popped up. Let's just double check. Oh, I think the preaching got a boost, or in fact preaching I believe was added after I did that. So there we are, we've got that added. I can't see any other additions, no. But now what we can do is I will now pray at the altar. Notice also you can sacrifice. So if I right click and open, you can sacrifice items at the altar. Remember that for if your food and water gets low and you've got a rare item on you, then you can bring your food and health back up. I will pray though. And now what we will notice, normally it would have been restricted to 30, but because I'm now a priest, when I pray we should notice it goes higher. And there we are, so now it's uncapped and I can take it all the way to 100, which I will be needing. Right, okay, so now I'm going to have to train my priest up. I want to get his faith up high so I can cast lots of spells. My alignment, you'll notice, went up by 3 by praying at this altar, which is also good. But I won't be able to continue now any more episodes on the priest until some time has passed and I've done some training. But I will be doing episodes on the different enchantments that you can do, and also on the spells. But they are future episodes, and they will be good ones. Wherever you are in the world, God bless you and keep every last one of you safe. Thank you for watching and have a fantastic day. I hope you have enjoyed this episode on becoming a priest. Goodbye.